There are a few questions that I get on a regular basis. Like for example, should I get the Xiaomi Mi 6 or the Xiaomi Mi Note 3? Or also as well, just about as often, should I get the Xiaomi Mi Note 3 or the Xiaomi Mi Mix 2? And I thought I would just combine these two and make one big comparison with the Xiaomi Mi Mix 2, the Xiaomi Mi Note 3 and the Xiaomi Mi 6. But what I'm not gonna do this time is actually make a super detailed comparison, because those usually end up at 30 minutes plus. So this time I will try to make it as direct as possible. I will just tell you in which category I think which one is on which place, and I guess that should be helpful enough, because I don't want to really show too much. If you want to know some more specifics, just check each one's review, and that all in all, along with the questions you can ask me in the comments down there below, should be enough. So let's just get into it. Now, Mi Mix 3. Comparing it with the Mi Note 3, just so you can see, that is just about as tall. There's a little bit of a difference, but what makes the biggest difference for me, and is the reason why I didn't consider the Mi Mix 2 as my daily driver, is you can see of how much actually wider it is. And this makes quite a difference, because for me, especially with the slightly, I would say, wider bezels on the sides, it's just a little bit unwieldy, especially also since the Mi Note has this nice tapered side, but still flat, or let's say tapered back with the sides here. Now, here, as you can see, we have it symmetrical, which definitely looks very nice, but just makes the phone feel even wider. But what it has going for it, super premium. Small bezels, depending as you want to see it. But this for me is the least interesting one, just in terms of overall in-hand feel. Of course, someone who likes bigger phones, yes. Now the Mi Note 3 is, I think, the perfect compromise if you want something bigger than what feels the best. Because the Xiaomi Mi 6, I still have to say, due to being more compact and just something that I personally prefer, and with the shape in it, it's just one of the best in-hand feeling phones. It's a little bit on the heavier side, but it feels super premium. Now, this is where the compromise comes in again, or the perfect sweet spot. This is not really that much bigger. Yes, it is wider, but still noticeably narrower than the Mi Mix 2. And yes, it's taller, but it actually weighs pretty much about the same. But due to being bigger with the same weight, it doesn't feel kind of top heavy at all, and it's actually quite easy to use in one hand. And that's why I personally will just give this the first place, just because it has more screen real estate than the Xiaomi Mi 6, but it's noticeably easier to use than the Mi Mix 2. But these two feel a little bit more premium due to more weight. This just is great. Of course, the back will scratch just about as easy as on the Mi Mix, on the Mi 6. The Mi Mix, I think so far does a great job, no scratches at all. It looks pretty much just like perfect. And I don't think you need the ceramic version this time, the whole ceramic version. This one will do just fine. Now, really, really quick, the display. Hard to rank, but I would say these two are, as a whole, just about the same, because there are a few distinctive differences. Like for example, I think the Xiaomi Mi Mix display is a little bit of more clarity. It feels a little bit clearer, but I like the calibration a little bit more, and it's not really comparable side by side this time. I just like the calibration a little bit more on the Mi Note. But both absolutely on a great level, and I will put them pretty much on the same aspect. So this one a little bit clearer, but this one a little bit nicer calibrated. Maximum brightness is great on all of them. And this is actually where the Mi Mix would win with the highest maximum brightness, but it loses just because of one main thing. Ever since MIUI 9, the display got a little bit oddly calibrated. It's a little bit warmer now, and therefore just not quite the same. It's still a lovely display, but the calibration turns me off a little bit, especially if I use nicer white phones all the time. So this one. Now speakers. Let me just put it this way without any demos. These two, very, very similar. Now the Mi Mix 2 has, at least what feels, if I make a direct comparison, the slightly warmer sound, which should be better, but it doesn't feel quite as loud, even though I measured the same values. So I would say, as a broad rating, all of them three are better. And yes, a few people might say that the Mi Mix isn't actually that loud, but I think with the latest update, once I switched and I got one, it got louder. I'm pretty sure it really got louder. Of course, I can't confirm it because I have no before or after, but all of these three, especially since all of them use this dual speaker mode with the mids here and the highs here, I like them, all of them. Headphone jacks are a little bit different. All of them use an adapter because none of them even has a 3.5mm jack. So you need this white adapter, which especially on the blue one looks quite out of place. The Mi Mix then has a black one, and the Mi Note 3, even though it's black, has also the white adapter. I'm not even quite sure. This is this I think is from the Mi Note 3, but quality-wise, the Mi Note and Mi Mix pretty much the same headphone jack. This one got a little bit weirder, a little bit less loud with the update to MIUI 9, so it's not quite as good, but still all of them are really good because better than general. Now performance wise, I'm just gonna say it like this. These two are 99% the same, and I don't think I really need to show it because the Xiaomi Mi 6 in my opinion is one of the best performers out there still. The 835 with MIUI 9 performs great, and the Mi Mix performs just about as good. Super lightweight feeling, super smooth, very consistent. And it doesn't really matter of how much gigabytes of RAM you have. As long as you have 4 gigabytes, you are absolutely safe. There is nothing you would need more. 6 gigabytes are better, but 4 is totally enough. And now this is the thing. This only has, compared to these two, the Snapdragon 660, not this 835. And therefore you might assume that it's just not on the same level. But in normal daily use, and that's why I use it as my daily driver, it doesn't make a difference. It just feels as fluid, as consistent, maybe not quite as fast, even though that doesn't really make or break anything. It still feels like 95%, and this is the best non-flagship performer of all phones that I've had. So yes, these two win, but this one so close, especially in daily use, that it doesn't really matter. Now, battery life, charge time very similar, around 1 hour and 20 on all of them. I would say if we use the worst one as the reference point and set it to 0, which would be, let's say, roughly 5 hours, 5.5, what I got on mobile data. You can, with the Mi 6, add about 1 hour more, so 6 to 6.5 hours, and with this one, add again 1 hour to the Mi 6, so about 2 hours better than the Mi Mix. This has phenomenal battery life. I would almost get like, let's say 7.5, sometimes almost possible 8 hours on mobile data, and of course on Wi-Fi even more so. So, clear winner, clear second, clear third. Software, all of them the same. Camera, to just narrow it and boil it down, not to make this video too long. The best camera of all of them actually has the Mi Note 3, because in terms of main camera for video and also everything else, it's pretty much the same as on the Mi 6, maybe a little bit refined, but so close that it doesn't make a difference, but it has the better selfie cam. So that's why it's overall the best one. Now the Mi Mix 2, and this is something that I don't understand, does not use the same camera arrangement, because if they would have used the camera of the Mi Note 3 on the Mi Mix 2, I think the overall appeal of this phone would be so much better, because I see so many people not buying this just because the camera is maybe just really good, close to very good, but it's not really close enough to the Mi 6 or Mi Note 3 for that not to be a problem, because so many people see, yes, overall qualities are great, but for everyone, especially on a flagship, what you can be quite sure close to a flagship, this is not quite what you would expect. The Mi Note 3 and the Xiaomi Mi 6 both are. And that's kind of the main issue why I don't think the Mi Mix got quite the positive feedback or the sales that I would have maybe expected. So let's quickly narrow it down of how I would recommend each one. If you want the kind of most premium feel, because this one for some reason feels so crazy premium, but wider. And if you want 2x1, which is the only one of these that has this, and I know I didn't really show much, but it's not necessary. Believe me, 2x1, most modern, of course, due to the bezels here, as you can see, you get definitely a quite nice feel. Because it still is something special. Yes, the ones on the sides are big, but after a few days it doesn't really matter so much. But I still think it feels quite wide, because if you just compare, I can actually show this. The Sandstone White OnePlus 5T maybe doesn't look, but feels noticeably narrow. Because if you just put them side by side, it looks very similar. And I don't really know the numbers, but as you can see, the tapered back here makes it feel so much thinner, and therefore you can easier grip around. And if I just have it in my hands with my short fingers, I can reach the side, which is, a little bit harder on this one. Now, in terms of fingerprint readers, these two are pretty much about the same. On the front, super responsive, as you can see here. both react very well. But I have to say, this one of all the back-mounted ones might be the best that I've seen so far, because as you can see, it's super quick, and this is, whenever I grab it, I'm actually sometimes surprised just if I pick it up and I don't even try to unlock it. I sometimes see, oh, it's unlocked, and I think to myself, why? Because this is the perfect position. Yeah. So this one is for someone who wants 2x1, who wants a premium feel, but can live without the best possible camera. The battery life is top notch, performance is killer, speaker is very good, headphone jack with the adapter, the display is super, everything is great. And I actually think that I almost was a little bit too negative in my review and didn't maybe give it quite the praise that I should have, just because it felt a little bit too wide for me. Whoever doesn't think so much about a big phone doesn't really care, because I prefer smaller phones, and this just isn't quite on the same level as a OnePlus 5T or as a Note 3 and such. And that was maybe one of the reasons why I was a little bit harder on it. For me, this is the perfect sweet spot between the two, because you have the bigger screen, it's just about as easy to use, you get the best battery life, you get the best camera, even though maybe not much better than the Mi 6. The display is slightly nicer calibrated, speaker is just about as good, the performance in daily use is pretty much just about as good, and it's the cheapest one, because this on sales like 430 euros, maybe like $460. This one like $360, I would say, $330 sometimes, but this roughly 300 euros, a little bit more in dollars. So it offers me the perfect balance. I get the bigger phone, which doesn't feel much bigger, but I get the best battery life. If the performance is just about as good and everything else, does not mean that the Mi 6 is not great, because this is the best. I would actually call this the best smaller than 5.5 inches phone of 2017, because the amazing in-hand feel, super premium, still a very good display, even though the calibration has suffered a little bit with MIUI 9. Speakers are top, especially with the dual speaker, it's still better than most others out there. The performance is top notch, the battery life for one of these smaller phones, still one of the best, by at least half an hour, if not an hour of an advantage to the rest. The camera is still very good. So yeah, I can recommend all of them three. Maybe the Mi Mix, the least one, just because for its price you are already quite close to OnePlus 5T territory. And for many people this is the better phone for the camera and the design aspects and such things. But my personal highlight, this, but this just about as much still, because I still have a hard time selling one of these. If I would have no phone at all on the moment, and it doesn't really matter if someone would tell me at the price range, just tell me which phone do you want of all the phones out there, no matter the price, I would go for this. For me, for my needs, for my taste, for my preference, this is the most fitting phone. And this, just for everyone who wants it a little bit smaller. That's it. I hope it was helpful enough. If you need some more information, comments down there. Otherwise, yeah, we'll see. Okay, until next time. Bye.